We just want to, want to maximize your presence here, and I'm sure everybody wants to listen to you. So let's get a mic for you, Michael here. Thank you. Thank you. Now, I'll ask a couple of questions to Mr. Abhinav Bindra. After that, I'm sure a lot of you want to ask some questions to him, and you're most welcome. The first thing I would like to ask him is, how did he feel, and what really made him to choose shooting, and what triggered it? I am read that he's gone all the way to Europe because he couldn't get the correct equipments, instruments in India, so spent his own money. What really triggered it off? What inspired you? Could you please tell us briefly?
Well, to be very honest, as a young boy, I didn't really like sport. Actually, I was in a boarding school and I actually hated sport. I was a very fat boy, very overweight, and I think my only talent was to miss physical education classes in school. Yeah, so I was in this boarding school and not very happy there, but I used to receive a letter from my father which encouraged me to take up sport and get involved in sport, which would make me happier. But of course I didn't listen to him. Finally got out of boarding school, and there, looking for a pastime in the afternoon hours, I got introduced to my first coach, Colonel Dhillon. And I went to my first shooting session and I kind of fell in love with this sport, because to be somewhat successful in it, all I had to do was stand still, and there was no running around needed. But that was the entry point into this sport. But I think I also fell in love with many aspects of this sport. It was a very individual sport. I had to own my successes, I had to own my failure, and I was kind of at least in control to a certain degree on how I would be able to shape my destiny. I just started loving the process of the sport. I think that is something which is very, very important, more than being driven by outcomes, which of course was a big driver, and I wanted to go and perform well at the Olympics, etc., etc. But more than anything, what I really loved was I enjoyed the process of just practicing my sport. And I think that was a very critical aspect which led me to remain, involved in this sport as an athlete for 20 odd years, which is a fairly long period of time, and going through all the ups and downs.
5 Olympics, right?
That is correct. Going through all the ups and downs, you cannot do it without just loving what you do. And looking back, I think that was one of the most critical aspects of my career, that I just loved the process of my sport. I loved to train, I loved to practice. The joy really was in the journey. And the joy was really in the day-to-day. The joy was really finding joy in the effort. And I think those were very, very important aspects, which then led me to achieve the outcomes which I was also after.
Thank you. And quickly, you won the gold medal at last. How many of you know which year? Did anybody? 2008, okay, right. And you won the first gold medal for India, and must have been a very proud, tense moment. And how did you overcome it? What would you?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think an Olympic final is probably the most amount of pressure an athlete will be able to face as an athlete. But I think, I'm asked a lot of times on how athletes would deal with pressure and deal with anxiety which comes with in a sport. And I think, really, to be very honest with all of you, there is no way to overcome it. I think the key is to learn to coexist with it, in learning how to accept that there will be pressure, and learning to work with it. rather than trying to find a way to run away from it or trying to find a way to relax and try and get into a flow and all of that. Those are nice applications in textbooks and good in theory, but in reality very, very difficult or almost impossible to put into practice. So for me the key was to really learn how to accept pressure and not resist it. Because for many years I tried to resist it and find confidence, etc., etc. But frankly, I was not really being able to be successful. And for me, one of the most critical moments in my sports career came where, you know, instead of going after self-belief and confidence, I started going after self-respect. And the moment I did that, that to me was probably the most, it was the most important day of my life, because that really, achieving self-respect and getting on that journey of trying to achieve self-respect was key in having the self-assurance, that no matter what my results would be, I would still be able to be a proud person. And that self-respect was achieved by showing up every day. That self-respect was achieved by giving your best every day. That self-respect was achieved in trying to get better than what I was yesterday. The Olympics did not come once in 4 years for me, they were every day. And it was about trying to be the best I could be every single day in all aspects of my performance. And slowly but surely, you know, I started to become more, gain that self-respect, and that helped me become more assured as a person, not as an athlete, but as a human being. I think sometimes in this whole pursuit of excellence, and especially sporting pursuits, we forget that before athletes, we are first human beings. So, you know, humanizing the whole aspect, I think, is a very, very important aspect. You know, you're talking here over the last couple of days about injuries and injury preventions. But more than anything, you know, especially when an athlete is injured, you have to look at the athlete, but you have to look at the person as a human being. And that is exactly the same when one looks at performance. You have to humanize that performance. You have to look at yourself through the lens of a human being, and not just an athlete who has the ability to perform miraculous and unbelievable things on the field of play. So by humanizing the pursuit, I think one is able to get the best out of yourself and are able to then also overcome your vulnerabilities, because every athlete of every level, whether it be the greatest of athletes or whether it be a young athlete taking part, there will always be vulnerabilities. And I think rather than being ashamed of them or rather than trying to run away from them, the important thing is to embrace them and work with them. And that is exactly what I tried to do.
Thank you. Now, one question I always want to ask was that I put it in one slide that why so little few medals, laurels from our country, you know, be it sports, volleyball team, basketball team. We're not really doing internationally. We're doing well, thanks to people like Sridhar, but internationally we are not there yet. And as I see in the East European countries earlier and China, they pick that, they start talent scouting very early in the childhood, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, and then intense training, grassroots level. We don't seem to be doing that exactly. But on the other hand, we have a lot of, like ABTP, a big initiative in equipments and instruments. And we have such knowledge, such talented people as far as the strength goes, as far as so many other aspects, you know, performance, everything goes. We also have people like John Glosser come all the way to help us out. And where are we? I mean, is the government doing its part, apart from changing his SAI to Khelo India? Are they doing anything? Are we having a grand plan viable in India for, say, another 10, 15 years to get at least about 10 gold medals? Are we there?
I think I'll step back a little bit to answer this very fundamental question. I think apart from the performance aspects of sport, which I think are developing slowly but surely in India, the government is doing a great job on it as well in the last few years. I think what we need to continuously actively do still is really build a culture for sport in India. While that has improved, and that is much to do with the young demographic that we have and the many young people that are now engaging in sport much more than ever in our history, whether playing sport or whether watching sport, I think it is very, very critical to just give opportunities to young India to play sport, not just from the lens of becoming an athlete or becoming a champion, but just to play sport for the sheer joy of playing sport. We need more young people to play sport to become healthier as a nation. Sport can play a very meaningful role there. And I think character development, for example, there's no better way for our young kids of this country to develop good character through sport. So when we look at sport from a larger lens, I think, and we give opportunities to many more people to just play sport for the sheer joy of playing sport, the number of people engaged in active sport will certainly rise. And that will also, a byproduct of that will be many more young Indians will then take up elite sport. You know, we have a population of whatever, 1.3, 1.4 billion people, but the important thing to ask is how many out of that 1.3 billion actually play sport? And if you look at that number, it is probably not a massive number. And if you really make comparisons from that real number, we are actually not doing too badly on the medal tallies that we have. So I think that is the most important thing, getting our kids moving, getting our kids physically literate, getting kids to just play sport for the sheer joy of playing sport, building a more sporting society. We will build a better society if we embrace sport. We will, you know, as a country, we are also after economic success, right? And you know, we are trying to develop our economy. But if you notice that all the greatest economies of the world are also great sporting superpowers. And I actually attribute them becoming great economies of the world because sport has played a very important role in building those societies, in building that work ethic in people, in society, in imbibing certain values which then become critical to sustain success over a period of time. So all in all, just trying to answer your very specific question, we need to embrace sport from a much larger lens, not just from a lens of winning medals, which is of course great and which is very, very important, but we need to see sports, how it can play a larger role in developing our country, in nation building, for example. And the byproduct of that will be sport becoming more mainstream, more emphasis going into developing infrastructure, and that will lead to more success at the elite level. If we do the other way around, where we only look at that elite level and, okay, provide facilities to 100 or 200 athletes or 500 athletes, you know, sport is you know, the percentage of success in sport, it's a very small number. And, you know, if you have 100 athletes, you'll be lucky if 5 succeed. So you can't look at that. You have to just try and work out a way where sport is just embraced at a much larger level in the country.
All right, thank you. Very enlightening. Anybody from the floor would like to ask? Yes, sir. Okay. Coach K, you can have mic.
Right. Abhinav, thank you so much for being a source of inspiration for billions, plus and also giving us a hope that, yes, India is there in the game. 2008, you're probably 25, 26-year-old, to 2024. India has come a long way. If we are talking about sports science and technology and gadgets and fancy equipments, we are talking about coaching athletes all around in terms of psychological profile to nutrition. Now, let's say if the same Abhinav BINDRA in 2008, you probably did not have so much technology to assist you. Assume that you were to restart. Would you like to go a path or take a path without the technology, or would you like to take a path with no technology, or would you like to balance that?
Well, I had actually embraced technology while I was an athlete. While technology and those facilities may not have been accessible to a great degree in India, I was fortunate enough to have the ability to travel the world and really embrace technology even before our times. I mean, you know, I'm very intrigued by, for example, I'll give an easy example with the Apple glasses which have just come out, and you know, I embraced VR technology and a glass system which Apple was actually developing with the University of Munich way back in 2008. So I had a prototype which I used to visualize, for example, and not just visualize normally, but I was lying down in a flotation tank and wearing these VR glasses which were very, very heavy to what you see now, and doing that. So I actually embraced technology as an athlete. It made a big difference to me, and I think in today's very, very competitive world of sport, it is the edge over others. I mean, if you look at, for example, what the US has in play at the moment, specifically in development of technology, it will blow your mind, and then I think that just gives a little bit of an edge to their athletes. So we have to embrace it. I think it is, while technology will remain critical and a very, very important thing, it is obviously and most definitely not the only aspect. So you have to find that balance, but I think embracing it sooner rather than later is very important. You know, it's, I believe, not just for the work of elite athletes, but can be used very, very effectively also from a talent ID perspective. For example, I know China utilizes it in a great degree in just identifying talent and putting the younger lot to specific sports. We've started doing that in India as well. So all in all, I think you have to embrace it. You can't forget about it. But definitely, as an athlete, I tried my best to embrace it as well.
Okay, thank you. Wonderful.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yeah, please. The last question. Can you go to the mic, please? There's standing mic there.
Hello. Thank you so much for letting me ask you a question. You mentioned you decided to embrace pressure, not resist it. I think that's very reflective of what we could do in life as well. Instead of trying to run away, kind of figure that out. My question is, how do you know when it's too much? Or how did you really, get yourself to not resist pressure? Please, that would be of great help. Thank you.
Well, I think I learned, quite early on that, it wasn't working for me. I worked with a lot of psychologists. I worked with many theories of psychology, and all of that was important and definitely helpful to an extent. But that breakthrough moment, if I was ever asked, was that moment where instead of chasing self-belief, I started chasing self-respect. And that just helped me embrace pressure more. And when I started to just accept it, it was obviously still there, but it just suddenly started to become background noise. And I think that was important. You also ask a very good question in the sense that when does it get too much? I'll try and answer it in a different way. There are probably lots of athletes here, and I think one of the most important things, and to everybody, I think, is balance. Is just having balance in whatever you do in life. And while I think I achieved many goals as an athlete, I became Olympic champion, world champion, I won many medals. I think I probably failed, and I failed to a great degree in achieving my fullest potential. And looking back, now that I have luxury of hindsight, I attribute that failure to the lack of balance I had as a human being during my sports career. So I think just paying attention to that, always keeping human well-being at the heart and center of performance, I think is critical. And I think that is also very important. It is an important aspect for all coaches and support staff who are in an athlete's entourage to also really prioritize, because you're dealing with human beings, you're not dealing with robots, and just making sure that human aspect is always prioritized, I think will help. And I think if you keep that in mind, it would also kind of help with the whole aspect of pressure that you brought up.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, Abhinav. Thank you for
Thank you very
coming
much.
all the way. I know you have a flight to catch.
But thank you very
So
much
thank
for
you.
having me, and I'd just like to end by congratulating yourself for all the wonderful work that you've done, and and the legacy that you're creating, and also for the new initiatives. So well done.
It's a team including ADP TV.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes,
very
ladies and gentlemen, let's just give him a big hand of applause. Thank you for his precious time and discussion with us. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
A few of the invitees have not spoken much, so I'd like to start with my friend Munir Seth, who is a bronze medal winner in Olympics. And I know we have seen the picture. Now we see all the gear. He's very boldly putting his hand out and no face for nothing. And he saved so many goals for India, 13 goals if I remember correctly, to get the bronze medal. And would you like to say something? And another thing, oh my God, I envy him because he plays squash in the morning, golf in the evening, in the night. He goes for a jog or run. I won't tell you how old he is. Here he is.
I'm over 80, all right. But I must say my fitness level, everybody keeps asking me how the hell you are so fit at your age. So I keep saying, well, you have to dedicate yourself, you have to work hard, you be sincere, avoid parties and late night parties, and keep up to the sport. So in my case, I started from my convent days itself, I loved sports. And we had various type of sports, which if I tell you, you'll start laughing because my children don't know what the sports are. We used to play holly-colly with girls, throwing the ball. That was sending the, I realized later. Then we used to have a goalie system, marbles, centered the fingers. We used to have tops, that was again shoulders. We used to have gilli danda, that was wrist. So happened, my senior Deshamuthu was a goalkeeper in Patiala, and he played 3 Olympics. So I asked Desh, how the hell you're so alert? He said, "Vanna illama, konjo Kathakali dance pannu. To learn Kathakali dance, you'll be alert, you'll be very nimble and fast on your feet." So what I actually like to tell the audience here is, when you start, at least your children, see that they play all the sports. Of course, now I don't think anybody knows what a goalie is, what a gilli danda, what marble, or what a top is. Then one more thing, which I did during my earlier career, I used to climb a lot of trees in my family house, and used to go climb the trees to break mangoes, to break coconuts. Then I read an article, Chuck Mackenzie of Australia, and he said, my legs are strong because I used to climb trees. So then I realized climbing trees is also something which helped me. Then on the weekdays, Saturdays, Sundays, I used to be on like kites. On kite season, katadi as they call. So what I realized is you're exercising your eyes, trying to fight the other kites. So every sport had an advantage. So what I really realized later, then I came to college, came to my school, I started playing all the games with the hockey, football, cricket, volleyball. I was also a hurdler. Then I concentrated on hockey, but the school was very good in hockey. We had inter-schools hockey, juniors. From juniors, I came to the seniors. From seniors, I came to Loyola College, played the varsity, played the districts, played the state, played for the country. So it was hard work, but step by step. I don't know how it is today, but I keep telling my friend, this is how, but now what I have done later is I started playing polo. I used to play a lot of horse polo. Every game I played, and I was good at it. Then I played squash. I became veterans champion over 45. Then I played, of course, and golf. Now it's golf. So all this is keeping me fit at the moment. And I had my sports injuries also. When I almost missed the Olympics in 1968, I was in Bombay playing the Bombay Gold Cup. I was running in the Maidan in the evening with my Beetle boots, trying to catch up to somebody. Wankhede Stadium was a Maidan. My leg went into a hole and twisted my ankle. The next day, I didn't know who was going to play for the state, but the doctors told me, put on wet socks, tie your boots tight, and play on goal. So I played. Came back to Madras. Then I went to I had the help of good doctors. Dr. David Rajan helped me. Dr. Kannan helped me. So what happened when 68, Dr. Bashir Ahmad was the chief orthopedics. I went to him. I said, I got only 1 month more. to go to Patiala for the camp for the Olympic Games, and I'm not able to walk. He said, okay, remove the cast, everything. Come every day for those days only some rays were there and some tablets he gave me. Then finally I said, Doc, will I be able to run when I go to Patiala? I have to run. He said, don't worry, put on ankle guard, put on tight socks, and don't tell anybody you have twisted your ankle, just run. I went there, the confidence he gave me, Dr. Bashir Ahmad and his assistant, Dr. Mohan Das. I went there, that was the first injury. I went from Patiala to Jalandhar to Olympics, and that's history. Then coming to squash, I was playing a hard game of squash, pulled a muscle. Then I went to Dr. Kannan, IMC. Kannan said, okay, don't worry, you're an Olympian, come. He treated me, in no time I was back in squash. Later on, when playing squash again, I injured my Achilles tendon. I'm talking to you about the injuries in sports. Achilles tendon, then I didn't know what to do. First thing I asked was playing with Dr. Salim Thomas. He said, can I play squash again? He said, just shut up, your tendon is gone. So then I went to Dr. David Rajan, and David Rajan saw everything and said, gave me the confidence, gave me the encouragement. He said, don't worry, you will come back. Within a year, I came back to squash, came back to golf, and by God's grace, I'm still playing squash, playing golf, and no hockey. So this is what I say, that people like Dr. David Rajan who are there to help, and Dr. Kannan, and the doctors and the physio, today is more advanced. In those days, with the encouragement and the right time, the treatment given by the doctors, I was able to continue. I'm still continuing. And by God's grace, I'm supposed to be the fittest guy for my age. But anyway, I told him, don't put dishti on me.
Thank you so much, Munir. And thanks for not telling one of your jokes.
Thanks. I've always been joking with Doc. Thank you very much. And all your prayers and blessings. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming all the way. Thank you. Dickpal, you want to tell us something about the opportunities the young athlete has in developing his talent and achieving the standard and the mark?
Hello. Yeah. First of all, sir, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to work closely with Ortho-One, where ABTP is partners with Ortho-One, and we are working in tandem with a team of surgeons to provide world-class facilities in terms of performance enhancement, injury prevention, and cure under one roof for the athletes. So, sir, I would like to express about my journey with Abhinav, sir, and also what we are doing with ABTP, where I'll be able to answer all these questions as well. So it was after the Rio Olympic Games where the idea was that how we can use the expertise and the exposure we have got across the globe, where we went to the best of the best facilities, and we thought that there's a big gap in terms of technology-driven approach, and it was the need of the hour, and that's with that idea the ABTP Center concept was born. And now we are happy to share that we have multiple centers across the country. We were the leaders in terms of reaching out to various state government, central government, various private facilities, educating about the importance of incorporating technology in various elements of sports science, sports performance, prevention and rehab as well. As David sir has also expressed in his slide, very specifically, prevention is better than cure. And that is what the whole world is emphasizing on. In India, generally, if we look at in terms of sports or athletic performance, we have battery of tests, but in terms of evidence-based approach or standardization or also reliability in terms of the processes which have been put across are very unorganized. So with ABTP, our vision mission was to bring in the global best practices at affordable costing and also educate the ecosystem. If I talk about one of how do we work or what is our approach, we have various centers across the country, and I'll talk about our largest center and the most advanced center in Odisha. So whenever anyone gets a chance, you should visit this center, and there have been a lot of back and forth with the top experts across the globe in terms of understanding the Indian ecosystem, which is unique, and bridging the gap, bringing all the best technologies and labs under one roof. So we have, for the first time, postural lab, functional lab, altitude training chamber, isokinetic lab, a biomechanics lab, rehab recovery lab. We have gate lab, to name a few. We have physiology lab as well. And what we do is, in that particular facility for the first time. So if you go to a sports science center, which is, there are various forms of technology which have been incorporated, but we wanted to bring in evidence in place and also create a structure which is standard and unique in its way and which applies specific to various sports. So in our facility, any athlete who comes in, first of all, we do an assessment for them, which is sport specific and athlete specific. So if you look at the current ecosystem where sport is in the center and everything revolves around the sport, we have changed the concept where athlete is in the center and everything revolves around the athlete. And if you look at also in terms of education, so coaches are the pillars who are working closely with the athletes, and it's very important to educate them in terms of how to use the technology, because it is a behavioral change. You're trying to bring change in the ecosystem, so they should not perceive it as a threat. So what we have done in the ecosystem is that every month for a particular sport, we had sports science workshop where the coaches came in. They felt familiar with certain things. They were given the opportunity to do the test by themselves and understand that how it can add value. Apart from that, talking about the athlete's journey or the ecosystem, in a year we conduct 4, you can say, benchmark for the athlete, where for the first time through objective data marking, there is accountability in the system. So what do I mean by that? When an athlete comes to the facility, we do sport-specific assessment in various labs. We have a starting point vis-a-vis. Before, what used to happen was there were tests which were been done. Those were more subjective in nature. So there can be reliability, validity issue. Everyone cannot precisely agree on a particular plan for an athlete. Now, with the numbers in place, all the stakeholders can sit together, and athlete is in the center, understand that particular athlete's need, requirement in terms of prevention, recovery, rehab, and then make a customized plan. So it is not like before where if there are 20 athletes, one plan suits all the athletes. Now the approach is very different, where all the parameters from their stability, strength, muscle imbalance, to their endurance, to their VO2 max, everything has been marked. And as I said, there are 4 tests which have been done in a year. So what happens is, for a particular athlete, for a particular sport, the therapist or the team who is working with that athlete are also accountable. Because now we can check how the athlete has progressed every quarter, which was not happening before. Another important element is how do we make technology seamless for the ecosystem. So we have created those processes. Same tests have been performed every quarter, so there is no diversion in terms of the assessment and the values which have been looked at. And the coaches are more in tune now because they see value in technology where they are part of it. Another important element is data needs to be visible. So we have athlete management system also incorporated to make sure that it is not an extra task for an athlete. Already the athlete is training. He has so many other elements to look at. So we have made it very seamless for the ecosystem where the data has been fed. Tomorrow, if the coach wants to pick the best fitted team at that particular moment, they can look at the data, look at the comparative data, and pick the best players in terms of team sport and individual sport as well.
Oh, thank you very much, Nickmal. And we will, suitable athletes, we will try to send you, and I'm sure everybody informed. There are so many other organizations also. A little bit confused about the Khelo India. The SAI has become Khelo India.
No, so they have different initiative. Khelo India is also...
The Go India, there's so many other organizations are there.
Right, sir.
A little bit confused. I think we'll have to look into that, find out what really is happening and where somebody can go. And ABTP is certainly the best so far.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to express one more point, as Sir has mentioned about prevention, and also John has also expressed briefly about the importance of recovery. So you can only precisely plan a recovery and focus on prevention when you have data points. Without data points, the athlete is clueless, the ecosystem is clueless, the coach is clueless. And when generally what happens, we have seen also in a lot of ecosystem, when a competitive season is on, everyone wants to push without having an understanding about that particular athlete, because that athlete is unique. I cannot have one plan, as I mentioned, for 3 athletes training for a particular competition. I want to understand his requirement and make a suitable plan for him. So in our test and our process as well, what we do is, when we do an assessment, after the assessment we have a marking system. So out of 100, just to express, if an athlete gets a score 75 and above, we sit down with the coach, with the nutritionist, with the sports scientist, psychologist, the whole team is sitting and talking about allow that particular athlete and the data to plan the next course of action. So if it is 75 and above, then they are good to go ahead in terms of loading the athlete or whatever plan they have planned for the athlete based on the season. If it is between 50 and 75, our goal is to look at the preventive approach. So we will focus on the imbalances they hold, the areas which requires certain form of program which is not progressive but regressive in nature. So what do I mean by that? We'll be focusing on quality of movement rather than quantity. And if an athlete falls 50 and below, then we know that it is a no-go. We want to look into their program, restructure it, maybe focus on the weak areas and also focus more on recovery, periodization and the training intensity.
Thank you very much, Ringpal. One
Thank you,
question
everyone.
I would like to ask Mr. Sailendra Babu, who has come all the way from Madras, and he's the top police officer of Tamil Nadu, great public speaker, and he's a cyclist, he's an athlete, and whatnot. And I would like to ask him, he always has a good team. Even when you were in police, you had a very good team, and a leader, and there are so many coaches, and so many people who are leading, and what would be your advice?
To the team building. So before that, since most of you are healthcare professionals, doctors, physiotherapists, coaches, I have a small message for you. I came to Coimbatore as the commissioner here. Before I came, I had an advice from a doctor that I should go for a surgery for my back when I joined this place. So one doctor advised me not to go for the surgery. I came here and I consulted Dr. David Rajan, and he said, before you work out, go for a warm-up, then warming down. Then he said stretching, strengthening, particularly core strengthening. So I couldn't even run 1 kilometer. I ran 1 kilometer, 2, 3, 4, 21 kilometers and 42 kilometers. I couldn't even cycle 1 kilometer. I cycled 1, 10, 50, 100, 200, 400, 600 in a go. I cycled from Kashmir to Kanyakumari with the same back. That means you have to cycle 200 kilometers every day. It's not the straight Kashmir-Kanyakumari. It's a very circuitous route through Gujarat, Rajasthan, Gujarat, Mumbai and Bangalore and Kerala. It's a long route. 200 kilometers continuous for 30 days. Then swimming was the other game which we do, because I am the head of the swimming team of Tamil Nadu Police. We started swimming 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, 2, 3, 4, 20 kilometers. Our team is a team building. I was getting the Tamil Nadu swimming team, which is one of the best in the whole country. I am not a regular athlete there. I am only their manager. So we swam from Sri Lanka to India with the same team in 2018 with all this. So I must really thank you, Dr. David Rajan. Now I didn't go for the surgery, only what he said, warming up, warming down, strengthening, stretching, and especially recovery. So team building is very important. Unless you are one of the athletes, it's very difficult to really lead a team, because your athletes, your team members look for you, who you are, what do you know about the sports. So you should only lead from the front, number one. If I am a shooter, if I am the manager of the shooting team, I should know about shooting. I may not be a Olympic medalist, but I should know the basics of shooting, and I should be a regular shooter. So you should be a practicing athlete to be a leader, number one. Number two, leadership, as all of you will know, requires a lot of understanding of the capability of the athletes. Selecting, as the US SEAL say, select the best and reject the rest. So you should have a lot pool of athletes and select the best and reject the worst. So I must really thank all of you, especially orthopedic doctors, the physiotherapists and the trainers, especially in the our own context. You know something? I'm an endurance sportsman. You may ask the question, do you have an injury? Do you suffer injury? I will say, where there are joints, there are injuries. Right now I am suffering an injury. I am consulting Dr. David Rajan. So an athlete will certainly have a lot of, as you told, I had a back injury and after this only I did all this. So injuries are part of our endurance sports. So, but there are also solutions. One of the interesting factor here, if you tell anybody here in India, he will immediately give you a solution. If I say I have a knee problem, he will say, sir, knee problem, you apply this oil and this herbal medicine, you will be all right. And he will follow it up with you. Have you done it? How is it going? So here, everybody is a doctor, right? And there are more fake doctors than the real doctors. Let me tell you that it's very, very important because, you know, in sports, unless you follow the science-based sports, you are going into a very dangerous zone because people will mislead you and they will make you to, you know, misunderstand your own problem. In the long process, probably you will lose the strength of your muscles or the legs. So in the context of a lot of people practicing pseudoscience, pseudo-medicine and quacks, you are very, very valuable people. Educated, trained on scientific principles, on evidence-based medicine, you are very, very valuable to the society. I must really appreciate you. And you are a real leader. I'm saying somebody said, you know, like Mr. BINDRA's greatest achievement is not his Olympic medal, but he has produced a lot of other shooters. Okay? So when I retired from the police department of 150,000 police officers and policemen, somebody asked me, what is your greatest achievement? I said, my greatest achievement is that I have groomed about 270 IPS officers. They will lead this department for the next 37 years. So you have created a lot of sports medicine doctors who are going to save all of us for the next probably 40, 50 years. Well done, doctor. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Come all the way from Madras. We are very thankful to you. The last one is going to be from Bhuvaneshwari and Kirtan. What do you want to tell? What do you want to advise? Bhuvaneshwari, just a few words. Kirtan, you're also very important.
हेलो एवरीवन हिंदी में बात करूँगी इंग्लिश में थोड़ा कंफर्टेबल नहीं हूँ पहले तो सर आपको बहुत 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 थैंक यू आपने मेरे को 5 महीने में फिर खड़ा किया और मैं फिर नेशनल चैम्पियन बनी सो इन दिसंबर आई वेंट टू नेपाल फॉर साउथ एशियन चैम्पियनशिप फाइनल राउंड में थी एंड व्हेन आई वाज विनिंग अ मैच आई फेल डाउन एंड then that itself I know that I'm going to have a major injury because it was paining like hell and aane ke baad we were searching hospitals where we can go for surgery because we know my seniors also had an ACL injury and we know ki we have to go for a surgery and we were finding a hospital all over the world including Iran, Malaysia, US, everything and then my coach got to know about this hospital about you and without any further late same month we came here and we had a surgery because we knew in 5 months we are having national trials and I have to fight because we have Commonwealth Championship this year in September we have Asians this year in September so we were targeting that physiotherapy center helped us a lot every week they were calling me they were asking me my updates they were giving me the roadmap I was following that and in 4 months I went for national trials I won gold and not only gold I won every match 8-0 no one could touch me no one took even a single score on me and that was all because of the best team I had best coach I had who took decision like quickly that we have to go for a surgery same month we went 3 months we did all the physiotherapy center sessions we have to have then last month we did training only 1 month we did training for karate nationals and then also we thought okay मैं किक्स नहीं मार पाऊंगी हमको पंच के ऊपर काम करना है okay this punches I was clear he was clear we were in the same line we were in the same line with my dietitian nutrition physiotherapist everyone on same page and I was very clear okay I have to do that I am going to do that and we did exactly that and as he said even in an individual sport I had a great team behind me and I know I will be having great team until so many years I'm going to play.
Thank you very much, Bhuvaneshwari. Kirtan, do you want to say anything?
My name is Kirtan Kondru. I'm present heading the national team of Indian karate team. As you know, karate is mostly like a martial art, and which is converted as a sport, and it is also part of Olympic 2020 Tokyo, and it's a medal sport. So once we are part of Olympic Games, then there is so much of big change happened in this sport, and mostly we were involved in the high performance competitions. So coming to the point, for the athletes, and basically in the combat sport, the injuries are very high and very predictable also. So we have down the line, in my experience, last 20 years, we have trained so many athletes and we have undergone so many injuries. And we have seen athletes dropping out, the most talented athletes dropping out because of lack of facilities, lack of guidance, and a lack of the quick decisions by the coaches and the supporting staff. And down the line, when we were inquiring in various parts of the countries and various expertise coaches, then we got a very good feedback about Ortho-One and the staff and mainly Dr. David Rajan Garu's approach towards the injuries and approach towards the ethical way of treatment for the sports athletes. So we came here and the decision and the feedbacks were very promising and very encouraging. The very important part for coaches or athletes is that whether we need to go for an operation, yes, because so many other physiotherapists, very topmost physiotherapists, doctors said, okay, you can go for a rehab, you can go for developing your muscle, you need to develop your so-and-so muscles, so it will help you for going long. Otherwise, you need to drop the career or you need to drop your athlete from the competitions. But still, we took it as a challenge, and we are very thankful for Ortho-One for the facilities which they gave us in a very professional way, and also ABTP for the wonderful equipment which we have seen. I myself was here for 2-3 times, and I observed the equipment which they have provided, and also the head of here in charge, Mr. Ganeshi, who followed up with us every frequently and answered all our questions. Okay, it became a very fruitful experience for us, and also we started our skill base, because karate is mostly skilled and technique based. So we also found out the biomechanics of our sport after coming here, and we implemented it, and which made it very easy, and a easy way to win the national championship with very limited involvement of muscles and required joints. So I'm very happy, and I definitely look forward to bring all my injured athletes henceforth future here.
We wish they never get injured.
No, yeah, definitely, because I'm very happy to see hard sports injuries. This is very important for every sport, and we will start speaking about this everywhere we go, and in the sports fraternity wherever we are. Thank you so much,
thanks,
David sir, and thank you Ortho-One and the staff for your support and cooperation.
Thanks so much, Bhuvneshwari and Kirtan. The credit, I don't take the credit. The team is important. We have Dr. Santosh Sahanand here, Shyam is here, and so many other doctors are here, and the physios, and Ganesan and his team, and even the nurses are very important. It's that the team that we helped you to get better, not just any individual. Thank you very much. So over to the next session.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, doctor. Thank you so much. Now we are moving on to the next session, dive, break.